On this episode of the Hockey Nuts, we discuss the Carolina Hurricanes' red-hot play of late. Then we discuss all of the hockey headlines over the past week, including Mika Zibanejad's injury and more relocation rumors out of Raleigh. We also discuss our weekly power ranking of NHL teams, and we reveal the team name of the new Las Vegas franchise. We'll have all this, plus some college hockey talk, the KHL Minute, and our picks of the week coming up next. This is the Hockey Nuts Podcast, Season 1, Episode 16, recorded on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2016. Carolina is red hot.
Shut up and sit down.
Watch for him tonight. The Penguins send the puck the length of the ice. No icing on the play as Antti Raanta comes out, lifts it up off the glass to the near wall. Derek Stepan banks it ahead, but right there is Trevor Daley to move it along for Kessel. He looks left side. And a shot. Score! Do you believe it? Jake Guentzel has scored his National Hockey League goal on his first shot, and there are his parents cheering him on. That's his dad on the left, Mike Guentzel, who is a coach for the University of Minnesota. What a way to start a career.
Well, ask Mario Lemieux about starting a career. First shift, first shot. Are you kidding me? Absolutely incredible play by Daley. Look at the speed. He takes it wide, Guentzel, and he rips it low on Raanta. And you can't do it any better than that, kid. What a beautiful shot underneath the stick in the pad. Guentzel's on the board and his first shot and first shift in the National Hockey League.
And you're right, Joe. Holden continues to play excellent defense.
Throughout this game, he has played so well. He's made subtle plays with the stick. Defensively, he's been in good position.
Holding, Brian Dumoulin goes up the middle, gave it away to McDonough. Nice move. McDonough looks, and it goes in. Kevin Hayes on a deflection in front. What a play by the captain, Ryan McDonough. And the Rangers lead it 4-2.
Krejci tries to twist it through to Marchand, who is racing through the left middle of the ice. Now Chara plays the puck to Marchand. He spins through Enstrom, who just blocked that shot. Back to Chara. Now Krejci out high to Bergeron. He scores! And it was a 5-on-3 goal. 3 seconds left before Scheifele was going to exit the box.
Another big win there for Buchanan's in the faceoff circle. He's not scoring, so you have to do other things to help your team. He's had a great night in the faceoff circle.
Now Lindholm moving up. Nathan Beaulieu defending Lindholm for Rask. He'll cut his shot. Scores! That's hockey, baby! Elias Lindholm to Victor Rask, and the Canes are up by 2.
Hello and welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of the Hockey Nuts Podcast. This is episode 16. My name is Wayne. I'm here with Steve. How's it going today, Steve?
It's going great, Wayne. Great to be with you here this 2 days prior to Turkey Day.
Yeah, we're recording on Tuesday night. Thanksgiving here in the U.S. is on Thursday. So we're recording a little bit earlier than we normally do. We normally record on Wednesday, but we're just trying to get it out of the way because, well, the nature of our jobs, mine in particular, I work in a grocery store, and tomorrow is going to be by far the busiest day of the year for us, and I'm already exhausted from the past week. Getting ready for all the extra business we're going to do. So we've got one more day to get through, and then Hell Week is over. And then the store gets really, really slow after Thanksgiving while everybody goes off and do their Black Friday shopping.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I got one more day. I'll be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I get through it, and that's it. I come home, and I'm probably going to go to bed. I'm probably going to go to sleep, man. I'm tired. But, we get through it.
Yeah, I got to work till 6 tomorrow night, so it's gonna be nuts. Tomorrow's one of those days where you just gotta try to get through. And then Black Friday, although I am working on Friday, but I wasn't planning on doing any Black Friday shopping. I don't know if you were going to do any of that or not.
We will not to my knowledge. I'm not going out anywhere. I'm going to sit at home and watch the Rangers play the Flyers. The Thanksgiving showdown. I'm not missing that game. And I'll have my cold cuts or whatever, my sandwich, and I'll be watching that game.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get going, first and foremost, let me just update you on everything. Of course, you can visit our website at thehockeynuts.com. You can email the show if you want to give us any feedback. We're at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. You can leave us a voicemail at our voicemail line at 919-960-1718. You can tweet me. I'm at WayneHalley9. And Steve is at sball504man. And, of course, our Facebook page is at facebook.com/thehockeynuts. And, of course, as always, we're streaming our recording of this podcast on YouTube. And the link to the YouTube channel is on the show notes for this website. It's just a long string of characters. One of these days, I'm going to get a nice, pretty URL that I can just read off the top of my head. But for now, you just got to go to the show notes for this podcast, and you can get it to watch it in the future. Or if you go to youtube.com and you do a search for The Hockey Nuts, you should be able to find us fairly easy, specifically while we're recording live. YouTube likes to put live streams up to the top of the search results, so you should be able to find us pretty quickly. But anyway, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get into the hockey stuff. Before we get going on all the headlines, at some point tonight, probably while we're recording this podcast, we're going to have to cut in for some breaking news, because tonight, Las Vegas finally announces their name and unveils their logo and probably a mock-up of their jersey for the team. We've been waiting for this for a while. They've been promising it was going to happen tonight, and it happens in just under an hour from right now. So if we're still recording at that time, and they do announce it, we will go ahead and add it right to the show live as we speak. So,
yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I'm glad that and it probably will, because we got less than an hour to go, and they're going to have a live newscast on NHL Network for those who are tuning in on YouTube.
Well, I've got it up on my TV right above me, so I'll be able to get it, although the sound's off right now. I may have to turn up the sound just a little bit just so I can hear what's going on. So, All right, without further ado, let's get into the stuff that has gone on over the past week. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes, because they had a fantastic week last week. They got 3 wins last week. Against 2 of them against real quality teams. They got a 1-0 win against San Jose. They got a 3-2 win against Montreal. I watched that game, and I enjoyed it immensely. And then they got a 3-1 win against Winnipeg,
who is a good team as well.
Who's also a good team.
It's a very good team.
Yep.
So
right now Cam Ward is playing as good as he has in the last several years. Granted, all 3 of those games were home games for Carolina, but it's good to see them winning at home. That should bring some fans back to the arena. We'll get to their whole arena situation later in the show, but because there was some news that has come out about that, and we'll get to that. But just talking about the games, they're just they're on a roll right now. They've won 4 in a row, and it's good to see the Hurricanes playing well again.
Yeah, it really is, and like you say, it helps. They've suffered through some stuff, and they're sorely in need of the team to improve its performance on the ice, and that's hard to do. They've had a difficult stretch here. Yeah. But I think they're going to come, as you and I both said, they're going to improve upon what happened last year, and they were in it the whole year.
Yep.
Right up until the end, and I think that's going to happen again this year.
And you know what? Earlier today, because I worked an overnight last night on for work, I listened to a bunch of old podcasts that I've been meaning to get to. And one of them I listened to was the one big Carolina Hurricanes podcast that's out there. It's called Cheaters Never Win is the name of the podcast. And it's just a couple of local guys. They're definitely Canadian because they've got the Canadian accents. But they're living down here. They're Hurricanes fans, and they talk about the Canes. Well, they're pretty entrenched with the team, and they're getting personalities on from the team onto their podcast. And the episode I listened to was actually kind of an old one. It was from earlier this summer. They interviewed John Forsland, who's the TV play-by-play guy for the Hurricanes, and he actually does a lot of games for NBC Sports when he's not doing Hurricanes games. He does have that bit of a side gig, and he said on that episode, and this was one from this summer, so it was recorded before any of the games from this season took place. He believes that the Hurricanes are going to be an elite team in 2 to 3 years. Like, he's talking elite teams, like top 5 type teams with all the prospects they've got. So
I wouldn't. They need a better goalie.
Yeah, well,
but I wouldn't be surprised by that. Wayne. I think it's entirely possible.
Yep. And with all the talented youth they've got, they definitely are a team on the rise for sure. All right. Well, enough about them for now. Let's go ahead and move on to your Rangers. They kind of had an up and down week this week.
We had an up and down week, but I'll take it. We played in Columbus on Friday night and got beat 4-2. Columbus is playing very, very well, especially at home.
Yep.
What do they want? 8 in a row at home, I think.
Yep.
And then a 3-2 shootout loss against Florida on Sunday night, which I watched that game and was, I really felt we outplayed Florida. But we got a point out of it.
And that one could have gone either way too. So
it could have.
Yep.
Shootouts are tough, and I usually feel very confident, still do, about Henrik Lundqvist in the shootout. But he didn't win that one, so we lost. But we did pick up a very big win last night to make up for things, beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh 5-2, and I'm very happy about that game. So I'll take 1-1-1 against those 3 teams anytime.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's some quality teams there. So, the Bruins had a pretty good week. They've continued to play very, very well. Of course, last week they won all their games. This week they only had 2 games this week, and one of them was a 1-0 loss at Minnesota. I watched that game. I felt that one could have gone either way. Minnesota's another team that's playing extremely well right now. And they're a very tough team to beat, especially in their building. And then they went to, and then they had a home game against Winnipeg on the 19th, and they won that one 4-1. And that was about as dominating of a game as you've seen the Bruins play all year. I think they certainly allowed less than 20 shots. It was somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 shots that they allowed on goal. And Tuukka Rask played very, very well as well. So that was just an all-around great team win for Boston. And they've had a few days off now. They're actually playing as we speak against St. Louis. So that's going to be a tough one. That's David Backes' first game against his old team.
Yeah, and that is coming on at what, 8:30, 8 o'clock tonight?
It's actually going on right now.
Right
now,
yeah.
7 o'clock. In fact, I've got it on my TV up there. And right now it's 1-0 Boston, and they are currently reviewing a goal by St. Louis for goaltender interference. We're waiting on a ruling on that one. So, but anyway, so the Bruins kind of had a pretty decent week, even though they did lose to Minnesota. I felt they played very well in that game against a very tough Minnesota team.
That's good.
Okay, and that's some of the other notable games that happened over the week. Some of these I saw, some of these I didn't, but they were games involving very good teams anyway. St. Louis beat San Jose 3-2 on the 17th. That was a very good game against 2 very strong teams. We talked briefly about the Montreal-Toronto rivalry last week. They played each other on Saturday, and Montreal came out on top 2-1 in that game, and that was a very good game. St. Louis beat Nashville 3-1 on the 19th as well. I watched a little bit of that game. I watched the third period. Saturday I had one of those nights where I watched just game after game after game, and I just kept switching. When one game ended, I'd switch to the next game that was ending.
I love those days, man.
Yeah.
And the flipper has to have a full charge of batteries in it.
Yeah. So I watched a lot of last 5 minutes of games, and that game, at least a little bit of that game I watched. PK Subban had a rough night that night. Right after I turned, it looks like they gave St. Louis the goal in that one. Right after they turned, Nashville was down 2-1 in that game, and PK tried to do an end-to-end rush, and then he got down almost all the way down to the net before he could get a shot off. He coughed up the puck. St. Louis turned around, went the other way, and scored.
Oh, God.
On a 2-on-1. So kind of, Subban kind of left his partner hung on that one. And any of you folks out there that have played defense before can know how frustrating that can be. A couple other games. Chicago beat Vancouver 4-3 in overtime. That was, I don't know if you saw that game.
I missed that game.
I watched it again the last part of the third period and all of the overtime. What a fantastic overtime period that was.
Oh, God.
Even though it's, Chicago and how poorly Vancouver's been playing, but those two teams went up and down the ice like neither team was playing defense in that 3-on-3. It was amazing to watch.
Man.
And actually, Chicago ended up scoring twice in overtime in that one. They disallowed the first goal.
Oh, okay.
So it took them a couple minutes to finally score again. But
Chicago's on fire, man.
But, Vancouver had a 3-0 lead going into the third period of that game. And Chicago came all the way back and tied the game, sent it to overtime, and then they ended up winning it in overtime. So Vancouver fans were not pleased with that one. Oh. And then on Monday, Edmonton destroyed Chicago 5-0. And I know Edmonton's been struggling a little bit. And they just had one of those games where everybody, I guess they just decided to play hard that night. That's the thing you get with young teams.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be what it was because they spanked them good. And I watched some of the highlights on that game, and the win was never in doubt.
Yeah.
And I think the game was played in Edmonton.
Yeah.
I believe the game was played in Edmonton.
Right. And then the last game that I saw was notable was San Jose beat New Jersey, and I noted that one because both teams are playing very, very well right now. So, all right. Well, let's move on to transactions. We've had a couple this week. One of them actually just announced a couple of hours ago. Defenseman Brent Burns signed an 8-year contract with the San Jose Sharks today. Financial terms were not released, but the contract's worth $64 million, an average annual value of $8 million a year, according to ESPN.com. So Burns, who's 31 years old, who would have become an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. And I kind of had hoped that Burns would become a free agent and maybe the Bruins might be able to sign him, but that was just a long shot anyway. So now it looks like Brent Burns is going to be a San Jose Shark until he retires because 8 years, that would put him at 39 years old when this contract expires.
Yes.
And I'm sure it probably has a no-trade clause. It doesn't say in the article, but
I'm sure he's set. This contract is the meat contract, and I'm sure this is what he was planned for.
Yep.
So
yeah, very good defenseman. He was a Norris Trophy finalist.
He'll win the Norris Trophy one of these years,
Yep.
And he has a great shot. And he runs that power play.
And an amazing beard.
And he is fearless. You ever notice that? Man, he is fearless. I mean, he'll take a puck to the forehead.
And to the beard.
And to the beard. And keep right on chugging like the ever Energizer bunny.
Yeah. Pucks will get lost in that beard. All right. The Anaheim Ducks traded forward Michael Scarbosa to the Florida Panthers for forward Logan Shaw on Wednesday. Scarbosa, who's 24 years old, had 2 assists in 9 games with the Ducks and has 3 points in 19 games with them and Colorado over 4 seasons. Shaw, who's 24, has not played in the NHL yet this season. He had 7 points in 53 games with Florida last year, his first. This looks like just a minor trade between minor league players at this point. Fourth liners, minor leagues, up and down guys.
Mm-hmm. Don't know much about either player, Wayne.
No, well, they're depth players for both teams. So, all right. Well, that's it for transactions for this week. Other than the nonstop sending up and to the minor leagues, sending down to the minor leagues, bringing guys up, that stuff happens with every team every week. So you can click the link in the show notes for all of those type of transactions. We're not going to get into those here. All right, well, let's move on to injuries. First one is very, very troubling. I don't know if you saw this one earlier in the week. Tucson Roadrunners captain Craig Cunningham is in critical but stable condition after collapsing prior to an American Hockey League game against Manitoba at Tucson Convention Center on Saturday. Arizona coach Doug Tippett said on Monday. Cunningham, a forward who played 10 games for the Coyotes last year, collapsed and was on his back while medical personnel cut away his jersey before moving him off the ice, according to Tucson.com. He was taken to a hospital and received treatment. The game was postponed. Cunningham, who's 26, was a fourth-round pick by the Boston Bruins in the 2010 NHL Draft. He had 3 goals and 5 assists in 63 games with the Bruins and Coyotes. Roadrunners' home games against the San Diego Gulls on Tuesday and Wednesday will be rescheduled. And as to my knowledge, I looked to see if there was any updates on his condition today. I guess he's still in the hospital.
I read the story. That's all I know about it. There's no explanation for what happened to him, why it required them to cut his jersey off.
The team is not saying anything out of respect for his privacy, but some of the members of the press are speculating that he might have suffered a heart attack right on the ice.
God.
So everybody's praying for him. So, and with him being a former Bruins player, I remember him played a few games for the Bruins a few years back, and he's got a lot of fans in the Boston area that are hoping that he gets better. So hopefully he recovers from this and at the very least comes out of this with his life. But we'd like to see him get back on the ice as well.
Right.
All right, Carolina Hurricanes goaltender Eddie Lack was placed on injured reserve Monday with a concussion. The Hurricanes recalled goalie Michael Layton from Charlotte of the American Hockey League on an emergency basis after Lack sustained a concussion at practice on Monday. Lack is 1-2-1 with a 3.78 goals against average and .856 save percentage in 5 games so far this season, and he's 13-16-7 with a 2.92 goals against and .896 save percentage in 39 games with Carolina since being acquired in a trade with the Vancouver Canucks back in June of 2015. So Lack has struggled, to say the least, so far this year, and this certainly isn't going to help him. I don't know how he sustained the concussion. I didn't see that.
And I didn't either. I did not see that. So
I guess I need to attend more Hurricanes practices. Because most of the Hurricanes practices are open to the public. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't, and I'd love to go watch a practice one of these days. But man, it's a little hike for me.
Yeah, well, and they always practice in the morning. So unless you happen to be off, it's hard to get down there for a practice. Because they generally practice 10, 11 in the morning. So yeah, their morning skates generally are open to the public, as well as any off, practices that happen on off days when they're not playing games. Most of the time, those are open to the public, and they usually practice right there at the PNC Arena. And if that arena is being taken by the NC State basketball team, they'll play at one of the local arenas right there in Raleigh. All right, New York Rangers center Mika Zibanejad sustained a broken fibula during overtime Sunday and will miss the next 6 to 8 weeks, Coach Adam Vigneault said following a 3-2 shootout loss against the Florida Panthers at Madison Square Garden. Zibanejad was injured 41 seconds into overtime when his feet got tangled with Panthers forward Riley Smith's feet, and he fell awkwardly into the boards. His left foot jammed into the boards, and it caused his leg to buckle. Zibanejad scored his 5th goal of the season in the second period. He has 15 points in 19 games. That's a big loss for the Rangers.
It is, and I watched the replay of it, and it's pretty. You can tell his leg breaks on the replay.
Ouch!
It's not fun to watch. I mean, the other side of it is when they say 6 to 8 weeks, it can't be that bad of a break, because that's not a long time, for a broken leg.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of encouraging. And
it's probably not a full, complete break. It's probably
right. It's probably if anything, a stress fracture, compounded stress fracture or whatever. But I'm not a doctor, so but I'll tell you, as far as my short to brief stint watching Zibanejad since he became a Ranger, he's a confident guy. He has a lot of confidence. And when you have an injury like this, the guys who have that kind of a mindset, and he is relied upon already as a Ranger, I think bodes well. And I look for him to come out of this fine. I look for him to he's got to go through the healing period, strengthen his legs back, and get skating again. But I'm it's the time factor.
Yeah.
Without 6 to 8 weeks, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. In the meantime, they got to find somebody who can put the puck in the net in his absence. So, which doesn't seem to be any shortage of it in New York right now. They're playing pretty lights out hockey at the moment. All right. Washington Capitals forward TJ Oshie will be out week to week with an upper body injury sustained in the first period of a 1-0 win against the Detroit Red Wings at Verizon Center on Friday. Washington played with 9 forwards for most of that game against Detroit. Oshie was injured after he checked Red Wings center Riley Sheahan 8-10 into the game, and looks like he'll be out for a little while. Week to week usually means they'll be out. Obviously, obviously longer than day to day. So, week to week, he's going to be out at least a week, maybe more.
You know, as an update to this story, I saw where Barry Trotz was talking to somebody. He said, "Well, you know, we're doing pretty good. We're pretty fortunate that we don't have any serious injury problems." And in the first period of that game against the Detroit Red Wings, they had 3 guys go out. One of them being Oshie, and then Andrei Burakovsky, who sustained an upper body injury, who is skating at practice and is considered day-to-day. As well, Lars Eller received an upper body injury, and he is day-to-day.
Yep.
So that occurred in one period of the game against the Detroit Red Wings. So, you know, that's tough.
Yeah.
And those are 3 pretty good players, too. You know, it's not anyways, I like TJ Oshie. I hope he gets back soon.
Yeah, and if they implement that shootout policy that we were talking about last week, he'll benefit from that.
Oh, will he ever?
Yep.
God, he's a master. He's might be the best shootout guy in the NHL.
Certainly one of the top ones.
Yep.
All right. Arizona Coyotes forward Brad Richardson is expected to make a full recovery after having surgery on his broken leg on Friday. After consultation with our athletic trainers, medical staff, and doctors in Vancouver, it was determined that Brad would require surgery to repair his fractured tibia and fibula bones in his right leg. This one's obviously more severe than Zibanejad's. Coyotes general manager John Chayka said in a statement, Brad's surgery went very well today, and we're confident he'll make full recovery. He'll be out of the lineup indefinitely. 31-year-old fell awkwardly after a hit by Vancouver Canucks defenseman Nika Trimakin with 8:37 left in the second period of Arizona's 3-2 overtime loss. Richardson remained on the ice for several minutes before being taken off on a stretcher and to the hospital. Richardson had 9 points in 16 games this season, his second with the Coyotes. So obviously this broken leg's more severe.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. And you know,
he broke both bones in that lower leg.
Yeah.
Whereas Zibanejad just has one.
That's the thing, you know. You've seen it before, the Joe Theismann type injury.
Yeah.
Where you know you snap both bones in the leg and it goes through the skin. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And I hate watching it.
Yeah.
But
you know, it makes me cringe every time I see that.
I'm telling you, like that dude a couple of years ago in the NCAA final game, Rick Pitino, and he broke his leg in the championship game. You remember that? Yeah. I can't even watch the replay.
Yeah.
But it's that type of an injury, and you know, good gracious, and the guy's skating. It's not like he's, you know, I mean, running to me would be easier. He's getting on the ice and skating on a leg that happened. That's got to be tough, you know. So
yeah, it's
yeah.
All right, forward Thomas Hertl has left the San Jose Sharks road trip and returned to California for an MRI, CSN Bay Area reported on Friday. Hertl seemed to injure his right knee in the second period of a 3-2 loss at the St. Louis Blues on Thursday. Hertl had 4 goals and 5 assists in 17 games so far this season. Last season ended in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final against the Pittsburgh Penguins when he injured the same knee. So it looks like he's having a little bit of trouble with that same knee. I don't know if it's the same injury, but certainly the same knee with him. So right. No news on how long he's going to be out. I didn't see any updates.
I did see an update. He is going to have surgery on that knee.
Is he? Okay.
The MRI came back, and whatever information they found out, he is going to have surgery. Don't know when that's scheduled for, but I'm sure that's something they'll do very, very quickly.
As soon as they can, for sure.
Yeah. Especially
if there's any chance he can come back towards the end of the year. All right. Well, unless there were any other injuries that you saw, that's all I've got.
Yeah, that was we know Stamkos is out for 4 months, so
Yep. There
Johnny
wasn't a-
Goodrow. By the way, I did get some information. Johnny Goodrow was struck in the hand by Eric Stahl of the Minnesota Wild.
Oh.
That's who slashed him and broke his finger.
Oh.
Apparently, the surgery went very well. He's out for a 6-week recovery plan, but he's trying to get back earlier than that. That's what I know. They apparently put some hardware in his finger, and the surgery went exceptionally well, according to the orthopedic surgeon that did the operation. So
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't see any suspensions or fines this week, so we'll go ahead and move on to milestones, records, and honors. And, of course, the NHL, as they do every week, announced their 3 stars for the week. And this past week, it was Los Angeles Kings center Jeff Carter, Carolina Hurricanes goaltender Cam Ward, and Washington Capitals center Nicklas Backstrom got the first, second, and third stars for the week.
Yeah.
Carter paced the NHL with 3 game-winning tallies and also tied for the league lead with 4 goals. So 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points in 4 outings to propel the Kings to a share of first place in terms of points in the Pacific Division. Cam Ward went 3-0-0 with a 101 goals against average, .964 save percentage, and 1 shutout to help the Hurricanes complete a perfect week and extend his as well as the team's overall winning streak to 4 games. Backstrom led the NHL with 4 goals, 4 assists, and 8 points in 4 games to power the Capitals to a 5 out of a possible 8 standings points. So great week for the 3 of those guys.
Very good. Very good week.
And speaking of Jeff Carter scored his 599th, 600th, and 601st NHL points, including NHL leading 5th game-winning goal of the season, and the Los Angeles Kings held off a surging Anaheim Ducks team in the 3rd period for the 3-2 win. So a milestone goal for him, the 600th point for Jeff Carter.
I can tell you that if they didn't have Jeff Carter, they wouldn't have a prayer of making the playoffs. You know?
Yeah.
It's a fact. I mean, they're hanging on.
Yep.
But without Jeff Carter, forget it.
Yeah, the Kings are struggling. Kings and Ducks, for that matter, are just they're not putting together a nice string of wins like they usually do. They seem to win a couple and then they turn around and lose a couple.
Yep.
So
you're right.
I'm sure both teams will come around. Although I think I picked the Kings to miss the playoffs this year.
Yeah, you did, and I got to give you props on that, Wayne. That might come to pass there.
Well, and that was before Quickie got hurt. But anyway. All right. So you had something about an NHL debut that happened. Was it last night?
It was last night, and you'll have to forgive me. I don't have Gernsel. I don't have his name here in front of me.
Gernsel, yeah.
He scored 2 goals against us. I believe he scored the first goal on the very first shot, like a minute into the game.
First shot, first shift.
First shot, first shift.
Yep.
His very first time on the ice as an NHL player. I believe that it's a shot that Antti Ranta wishes he had over. It was a low to the ice shot that I believe Ranta should have had, and maybe he had trouble picking up the puck. But kudos to him. He had 2 goals last night in his NHL debut, and that's got to bode well for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And
that was a good outing for him. And I saw highlights of that, and then I saw how excited his family, who was in the stands, were on that game. You would think he just won the Stanley Cup, the way the family was celebrating.
Yeah, that was really something, wasn't it? His dad jumping up and down. I think he even had tears come to his eyes.
Dad and his brother and his mom. Yeah, they were all there.
Yeah.
So good night for him.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to some of the other stories that we saw that were kind of interesting. Yeah. The All-Star Game, the 2017 Honda NHL All-Star Game, will once again feature NHL All-Star fan vote and the 3-on-3 All-Star Tournament, showcasing the NHL's most talented star players from each division. The NHL and the NHLPA announced today. Hockey fans, again, will determine the 4 All-Star captains in the 2017 All-Star fan vote, with the top vote getters by division, regardless of position, named All-Stars and captains. The remaining 40 NHL All-Stars will be named by NHL Hockey Operations. So I got a couple things to say about this one. I didn't get it into the detail in the article, but the article also points out they changed the rules a little bit this year versus last year. And they're all referring, not the league, of course, but all the press are referring it is to the John Scott clause.
Yeah.
They added, a little bit of language in there that if a player gets sent down to the minor leagues, and there's dates, that everything is effective. If he gets sent down to the minor leagues, he is no longer eligible to become the captain, and the number 2 guy on the list becomes the captain by default.
Oh.
So if that rule would have been enforced last year when John Scott got sent down, when Phoenix sent him down, that would have made him ineligible, and they would have had to go with somebody else, and John Scott wouldn't have played in the game last year. So the NHL went out of their way to prevent another case. And it's too bad too. I mean, it was a good story. I was never a John Scott fan, particularly where he, back in his days in Buffalo, and he was beating up on basically every Boston Bruin player whenever he played. So, Bruins fans in general don't have much love for the guy. But after seeing the story and watching him all that weekend, I learned to like the guy. He's a nice guy off the ice, very smart. He went to Michigan Tech, engineering student, which is hard to do, to be a Division I athlete and an engineering student.
Oh yeah.
So you got to respect the guy for that. And he had a great weekend. I mean, it was a good story.
I think the players were genuinely happy for the guy too.
Yep.
But you watch that.
The NHL is squashing any chance of any of this happening again. So they put that loophole in there so that if somebody's winning the voting that the NHL doesn't think deserves it, they can, call up the team and say, hey, you need to send your guy down to the minor leagues, and that will end the bid. So disappointing to see.
Yeah.
All right. So on November 18th, let's move on to a little bit of Hurricanes talk here. And I know you didn't see the story come through, but on November 18th, NBC Sports reported that according to a report by 98.5 Sports in Montreal, Carolina Hurricanes owner Peter Kamanos wants to get his money out of the team, even if it means the Canes are sold and relocated. And that report came on the heels of an apparent settlement in the lawsuit involving the Karmanos and his 3 sons, a settlement that could make the sale more likely. The question all along has been whether Karmanos can find a new owner that's willing to keep the team in Raleigh. Karmanos, who moved the franchise from Hartford in 1997, has guaranteed that the Hurricanes will not become the Nordiques. But the 73-year-old has also been trying to sell the team for quite some time. I'm looking for the proper way to make sure the team has continuity, hopefully with people in North Carolina, he said back in 2014. Like Karmanos, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman has insisted the Canes are not going anywhere. The relocation speculation is only natural, however, when the Quebec City has a brand new arena with no team, while at the same time, Carolina is sitting dead last in attendance at the league. And later that night, it was like 5 hours later, there was another follow-up article following this one. And that one said, thanks to a report out of Montreal on Friday afternoon, the Carolina Hurricanes relocation rumors have started to surface once again. It's not taken long for the Hurricanes to respond and do their part to silence them, at least for now. Hurricanes president Don Waddell said on Friday night via Chip Alexander of the News and Observer that any relocation rumor is false and that nothing has changed from a year ago. He also added that team owner Peter Karmanos has not turned down an offer for the team and that financial health of the team is in its best shape ever. This response was prompted after the 98.5 Sports in Montreal reported earlier in the day that Karmanos is looking to get his money out of the team and sell it, even if that means the team relocates. Okay. So here's, you and I live here in North Carolina, right? So
that's right.
We're relatively close to this story. And of course, neither one of us know what's going on behind closed doors with the Hurricanes.
That's correct.
But we probably have a better insight to this story than most fans, particularly in Quebec and Montreal.
Yeah.
My personal belief on the matter is I think this is an absolute fabrication on the part of the Montreal media, who gets a little sensational at times. I mean, let's get right down to it. They just do. And the Quebec media, of course, because they're desperate to get a team there, and they're trying to drum up any kind of story with any team. This time it's the Hurricanes. It's been Phoenix before. It's been, you name the team that struggles with attendance. When a team loses, their attendance dips. It happens,
Right.
particularly in these southern markets. So
The
I
Florida
think
Panthers,
Yeah.
Florida Panthers a few years ago, they were
Yeah.
they're losing money.
losing money, and then they would show pictures of an empty arena. Well, they got good. They started winning, and now look, they're fine.
Yep.
There's no talk of them going anywhere. The Hurricanes are a team that's on the rise. They got a lot of young prospects. They're going to be a good team as long as they hang on to these guys. It's inevitable. I mean, it's going to be 2 to 3 years out. They're going to be a playoff contender. And I've read countless stories on the situation. The arena deal that the Hurricanes have with this arena they say is one of the best in the league, financially speaking. It's one of the best arrangements for a team in the league. And on top of that, they keep talking about how Raleigh is a smaller market. Nobody cares. And there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think a lot of it is just simply due to the fact that, they're not winning, or they haven't been the last 7 years. They've missed the playoffs 7 years in a row. So, naturally you're going to see an attendance drop. But this year, going into this year with all the new prospects they've had a big spike in season ticket purchases this year. This team traditionally doesn't draw well in the months of October and November because you've got college football going on. You got 3 major universities with college football and college basketball programs. You've got NC State, UNC, and Duke, all very close by.
Right.
So a lot of the fan effort,
Interest.
the fan interest and the fan effort is being put towards one of those 3 schools because nobody's a fan of all 3. If you're a fan of one, you hate the other 2. That's how it is here. So once the calendar turns over to December and heading into January, attendance always goes up with the Hurricanes, good or bad. So, this is, it's just frustrating to see these media outlets just trying to drum up any kind of story just to try to almost convince the league into sending a team elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what your take on the whole thing is.
Well, we talked a little bit about in the pre-podcast. It's very hard. The NHL is going to do everything in their power in today's hockey, in today's NHL. They're going to do everything in their power to stop a team from relocating. They're going to keep them where they are, and it makes logical sense. Why would you go through the whole process of bringing a team into the market and then nix it to move them somewhere else because somebody sweet talked a deal on them? If Quebec has a stadium built, all they got to do is have an owner, and they got a team. I mean, the NHL is not going to deny them the opportunity. I think a lot of the fans want to see the Quebec Nordiques or some team in Quebec come back. It's not something like they don't want to do that. But I just don't think Raleigh's the team. And as a matter of fact, I think it would be very hard if it's going to be any team. They would have to be – I understand why the Atlanta Thrashers moved a few years ago. My wife and I, we would watch the games, and there were thousands of empty seats nearly every time we watched them play the Rangers. It's a fact. Go back and check it.
Yep.
They had terrible attendance, and they lost money hand over fist. They got that team, and that's not the first time a team relocated out of Atlanta. It's not a hockey market to the extent that a team like Raleigh is. So, my feeling on it is that they're blowing smoke. It's just, like you say, something that somebody throws out there to get traction going and see where, it's like throwing a dart with it blindfolded and seeing if you hit the dartboard.
Yeah.
And I really feel like there are other teams out there that they could take a look at that and I'm not going to mention them, that they could take a look at as possible relocating teams versus Raleigh, who happens to support the Hurricanes better than they're being given credit for. That's just my 2 cents on it. As I said, I think it's a hard undertaking. Karmanos has got to want to do that.
Yeah.
He has the final say. He's got to want to say, okay, well, I can't do anything else. I'm going to have to relocate the team to Quebec because they're providing me with the best option. That's a big step and that a lot of people in this area are going to say is the wrong step.
Yeah.
So
well, here's the thing: the team is not drawing poorly because of poor fan support. This market has proven that they can support a team. Go back to the 2006 Stanley Cup run and the 2002 Stanley Cup run and the 2009 Stanley Cup run. I was in the building for one of the games in the 2009 Stanley Cup run when they played the Boston Bruins. I was there for one game 4, I believe. And there wasn't an empty seat in the building.
Yeah.
And they were tailgating. This was a 7 o'clock, 7:30 game. I showed up at the parking lot at 2 p.m. thinking, I'll be able to, I was meeting some friends there. We were going to tailgate. And I figured, well, we'll be able to have our pick of where we want to park. The parking lot was half full at 2 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game during the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, when the team is good, the people here get behind it.
Big time.
And I pulled up some stats about the Raleigh market because they're talking about how Raleigh is just so small that they can't figure out why that they would put a team here. There's over 2.2 million people living within a short drive of the arena.
Yeah.
If you include Raleigh, Durham, the whole metropolitan area, right?
Yep.
All right. So 2.2 million people. Let me list some of the smaller cities. These are cities that are smaller than Raleigh, Durham, that have pro teams, like pro in any sport, one way, some of these are football, basketball, whatever. Okay. Nashville, Milwaukee, Jacksonville, Oklahoma City, Memphis, New Orleans, Salt Lake City, Hartford is much smaller than Raleigh, Durham.
Yeah.
Buffalo, okay? These are all smaller markets. Granted, Buffalo is a traditional hockey market. There's no way the Sabres are moving. On top of that, the Raleigh-Durham area has experienced, this is from the census report, 15.6% growth in population over the last 5 years. This is from 2010 to 2015. A 15.6% growth in population. Guess where all those people are coming from? You know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They're coming from up north.
Up north.
They're all hockey fans, all right?
Yep.
Now, comparing that growth rate that this area is experiencing, I looked at all the top 100 largest cities in America. Out of that top 100, only Austin, Texas has a faster growth than Raleigh-Durham.
Yeah, I believe it. You look at the Research Triangle Park area, it is booming.
Yeah.
So I drive through there at 5 o'clock.
I mean, they can't build houses fast enough down here. People are just streaming into this area to live here. And a lot of them are hockey fans. Now, what we see happening as, when we go to games is a lot of times what happens is, folks like me who come from New England go to Hurricanes games. We have our Hurricanes gear until the Boston Bruins show up. And then we show up in our Bruins jersey and we cheer for the team we grew up cheering for. You do the same with the Rangers.
That's right.
So what happens is, when their hometown teams are in town, they're cheering for their hometown team. If some of these folks do convert and become Hurricanes fans through and through, but it's hard to change. It's hard to change 40 years of devotion to a team. For me anyway, I'll always be a Bruins fan, even though the Canes are here. But to say this isn't a hockey market, I think is totally ridiculous. I think it's just a case where they need to get a better owner because the one they have, he's been an absentee owner from day one, and this has just been a business investment for him and nothing more than that, because the guy never lived here. Carmanos, right. He's always lived in Detroit.
That's right.
So they need to find an ownership group that's in this area, or another ownership group that cares about this area. I mean, this is a good hockey area. There's thousands of kids playing hockey at the youth level in this area. I mean, it's one of the biggest youth hockey programs in the country in terms of number of kids playing. I mean, this is turned into a hockey market. There's
right.
No question. They just need to get a better product on the ice, and the fans will come back. Plain and simple. This is nothing more than a dip in attendance due to the team not being that good. And you'll see that in any hockey market with the exception of the Canadian markets and a handful of the northern traditional, what you want to call traditional hockey markets. Any other team,
right?
LA, Anaheim, San Jose, all the southern markets, if the team sucks, the fans won't go to the game. Plain and simple. So
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Wayne. I back what you say 100%.
So Montreal and Quebec, back off. We've got the team. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Go through the proper channels.
Go find your own damn team. Right.
Get an owner.
Well, they have an owner.
A wealthy owner who wants to put a team on the ice, and I guarantee you the NHL and people like me and you who are hockey fans want to see the Quebec team back on the ice. I would love nothing more than to see them move back into the Atlantic Division.
But not
and
at
that's where
not
they.
but not at the expense of the Hurricanes.
I agree with you. Not at the expense of the Hurricanes. Come on, do like what Las Vegas did. Get your expansion team just like what Las Vegas did.
Yep.
The NHL is going to want to have another team, and I think Quebec's the perfect spot for it.
Yep. Well, they would have to solve the geographical imbalance in order to put another team in Quebec. But
I still say, and this is what I say again, and I understand Detroit is the only team in the Eastern time zone, but I would think they'd move Detroit back into the Central Division and giving them 8 teams with the onset of Las Vegas coming in, and then pick your Quebec City team, and you'd have 8 in each division. I think that's how they do it.
Yep.
Move Detroit back to Central.
Yep. Well, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on, shall we? We're done ranting about the Hurricanes. All right. Next up on the list is our HockeyNuts.com power ranking for the week. And I went ahead and put together the ranking this week. So I think the thing we should do is just alternate it, you and me, each week. So this week.
That sounds good.
So
okay.
this week we'll go with my ranking. And at number 10, I've got San Jose. Number 9, I've got Boston. Number 8, I've got St. Louis. Number 7, Tampa Bay. Number 6, Washington. Number 5, Columbus. Number 4, Pittsburgh. Number 3, Chicago. Number 2, Montreal. And our new number 1, I've got the New York Rangers. And the reason I put them number 1, flip-flopping over the Montreal Canadiens, is Montreal's is started to come back down to earth a little bit. The Rangers, even though they had kind of an up and down week, if you look at their goal differential, they're at 34, something like that, goal differential, by far leading the league in that department. Mm-hmm. And that's usually an indicator of how good your team is when you have that goal differential advantage in that way. And they have the same amount of wins as Montreal. They're only a point behind them. So at this point, it's fair to say that, the Rangers right now are playing just as well, if not better, than Montreal. Probably slightly better. So that's why I put them number 1 this week.
Flattering. I had them third, but we're playing very well right now, and things are going good. The puck is going into the back of the net, and I think Vigneault's put together some crafty lines. So, I just want to say this about the Rangers, okay? In terms of our defensemen, I think we're doing very, very well. And a pairing that I saw Vigneault put on the ice the other night was Kevin Kline and Brady Shea. And they're doing great. I'm my wife will tell you, I'm a huge Kevin Kline fan, and I think he's having a good year again. He doesn't get enough credit. But the only guy I know that loves him is Mike Milbury.
Yeah.
But he deserves more credit than he gets. He's one of our best defensemen, and he'll be protected, I believe, when the NHL expansion draft comes along. So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if your team didn't get named in the top 10, you want to find out where they are, then check the show notes for the show, and the full listing of all 30 teams is in there. Okay, let's go ahead and turn and look ahead to what's upcoming this week. And the Bruins have a very, very busy schedule coming up this week. They have St. Louis, obviously, tonight. And I missed the score on that one. I believe it might be 3-2 or 3-1. I can't remember what it was. I've switched channels over to NHL for the moment to hopefully get the big Las Vegas announcement. But anyway, St. Louis and Boston are playing right now. On the 24th, that's Thanksgiving Day, they go to Ottawa to play them. And then on the 25th, that's Friday, they play Calgary at home. And then on the 27th, they got Tampa Bay at home. And then on the 29th, they travel to Philadelphia on the 29th. So very, very, very busy week for Boston coming up.
Yeah, that's a wicked schedule, as someone from Boston might have said at one time.
Yep.
But what is that? 5 games? 4 games?
5 games.
5 games.
Yep. Between now and next Thursday. Yeah.
And you're playing Calgary at home, which is good.
Yep.
And Tampa Bay, I think you can take them, man. In fact, I want you to take them.
Since the Stamkos injury, Tampa Bay has come back down to earth a little bit. And Boston, quite frankly, has for some reason they don't seem to have too much trouble beating Tampa Bay. on a fairly regular basis. So I'm pretty confident on that one. So if they can get past St. Louis tonight, I think Bruins could be set up for a pretty decent week. I'd like to see a 4-1 week would be a nice thing to have.
Oh, you're not kidding. That would be awesome.
All right. So the Rangers.
We complete a home and home against Pittsburgh tomorrow night in the Garden. And after our performance last night, I'm feeling very good about that game. But I know as well as you do that the games with Pittsburgh are always well contested. And if we play them 4 times, it's usually a 2-2 split. If we play them 5 times, it's a coin toss who wins that 5th game. So I'm hopeful that because we won in Pittsburgh at the P&G, Pittsburgh Paint and Glass Arena the other night, that we can turn 2 on them. And then, you don't want to miss that Thanksgiving showdown, Wayne. Like I was saying, we're playing the Flyers in Philadelphia on the 25th, the day after Thanksgiving. That's an NBC game. And like I said, I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
That'll be a great game. And you guys play Philadelphia this week, too. So.
Yep. So the Rangers can go ahead and beat up on Philadelphia and knock them around a little bit, make beating the Flyers a little easier.
Philadelphia's good though. That's going to be a good game, and they've got some really good hockey fans up there.
Yep.
We play Ottawa on the 27th, and that's in the Garden, and we play Carolina on the 29th, and that as well is in the Garden, which I feel confident that we can win one of those games. So I'm hoping for a 2-2 week. 3-1 would be great. If we pull off a 4-0 week, I'd be shocked. I don't know that we'll do that. So split those games. I'd be happy.
All right. And Carolina has a 4-game week too. Is coming up. Actually, 5-game week. They've got Toronto on the 22nd. That's tonight. And I believe that game is tied at the moment. They've got Montreal on Thanksgiving Day. They've got Ottawa a couple days later, Florida a couple days after, or the next day after that, and then the Rangers on the 29th.
Yeah.
So, well, good. And they are now on stage, about ready to announce that the Sand Gnats are are the new team name.
The Las Vegas Desert Sands.
The Las Vegas Sand Gnats.
Yeah. That was good, Wayne. Yeah.
All right. And let's move on to highlights of some of the other games we got coming up this week. We've got Pittsburgh, Minnesota, 2 good teams playing on the 25th. The first 3 here are on the 25th. Chicago, Anaheim, 2 strong teams in the West. Columbus, Tampa Bay, 2 strong teams in the East. Then Columbus, Florida on the 26th. Got a few games on the 26th that are worth watching. Minnesota, St. Louis. Chicago, LA, Anaheim, San Jose are all on the 26th. Those are games that I'll have my eyes on. On the 28th, Dallas and St. Louis. Both teams are playing fairly decent. Dallas looks like they're coming to life again, starting to get back some of those injuries that they've been suffering. And then on the 29th, you've got Toronto, Edmonton. That would be your Connor McDavid against Austin Matthews, part 2, I think. Yeah,
that's right,
yeah.
Part 2.
And then you got Tampa Bay, Columbus, and Florida, Chicago. Those are all the marquee games that I've got highlighted this week, besides the ones involving our teams, of course. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the NCAA Minute. We'll talk a little college hockey. First and foremost, University of Maine lost and tied at Vermont this week, so not a very great week for them, only getting 1 out of a possible 4 points. But we had a lot of games around the country this week, and there weren't really a lot of upsets this week. It was only 6 that I noted. Number 9 Notre Dame beat number 6 UMass Lowell on Saturday, but that was a split series, so UMass Lowell ended up winning the other game between those 2 teams. Also on Friday, number 19 Providence lost to Northeastern, but that one also went split on the weekend. Number 1 Denver played Miami twice on Friday and Saturday, and both games went in the record books as a tie. Even though the conference that they're in apparently uses a shootout, the NCAA officially doesn't recognize shootouts. So those any games that go beyond the 5 minutes of overtime go in the official record as a tie. So officially, those 2 games were ties, even though Denver won both in a shootout. Number 11, Harvard beat number 3, BC on Friday. Number 15, Minnesota State beat number 7, Minnesota on Friday, but Minnesota came back and won game 2 on Saturday. And then unranked UConn beat number 5, BU, but again, that series went as a split. So there were a lot of two-game Friday, Saturday night games against the same teams. And most of those went split. There were no sweeps, so nothing earth-shattering happened this week in the NCAA. There's actually a few games tonight and tomorrow that are considered part of this current week in the NCAA rankings, and those would be as a result of Thanksgiving break coming up, and there's a lighter schedule this week. I think Maine only has a single game this weekend, so and in fact it's a good thing. They're playing at Portland, and that's something they used to do years ago. Maine used to play a game Thanksgiving weekend at the Portland Arena, and we used to go to that game when I was growing up almost every year, which was kind of nice. Nice thing to do when you're in Maine visiting family is to go to a hockey game. So
I hear you.
So that looks like they're getting back to that Portland game on Thanksgiving weekend, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's finish up the college hockey talk with a top 10 update for the week of November 21st. I've got number 10, Bemidji State, number 9, Harvard, number 8, Penn State. They're climbing the rankings. Number 7, BU, number 6, Mass Lowell, number 5, North Dakota, number 4, BC, number 3, Quinnipiac, number 2, Denver, and back at number 1 is Minnesota Duluth. Not unanimously, though, but close to it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the KHL Minute, and I will go ahead and let you do yours.
I had a good one. Of course, I've been following SKA St. Petersburg for the last few podcasts, and once again, I decided to put SKA St. Petersburg as my pick of the week for the KHL. SKA St. Petersburg's 15-game winning streak was halted by automobilist Yekaterinburg. Yekaterinburg? God, I murdered that name. Yekaterinburg. 2-1 in what is deemed a shocking outcome. And I checked the standings. Yekaterinburg is a 10th place team in the opposite conference from St. Petersburg. So for automobilist, it was a much-needed victory as they are struggling to try and get in the playoff race with, the KHL season now moving on quite a bit. They've been playing for several months now. As I said, they're in 10th place, and it was only their second win in their last 7 games. So a team, I guess, good to say. Of course, I'm not in Russia right now, but they're lackluster performing. They're not a constantly winning team. I mean, came up and beat the Giants, St. Petersburg. Yep. So that's quite a win. As I said, it was 2-1. So
well, looks like we won't have a breaking of that 18-game winning streak then.
Yeah, that's going to stay, and I'm sure that some of the fans are heaving sighs of relief. I'm trying to remember the team that set the record.
Yeah,
Avant-Garde.
That's right. Avant-Garde.
Avant-Garde had the 18-game winning streak, so the fans of Avant-Garde are saved from that record being rewritten.
All right. Well, my pick also includes the SKA team. It's actually it was probably the game after that loss. The eagerly awaited third installment of the Army Derby between CSKA and SKA. So these are your two Army teams. Those two teams getting together is the Russian equivalent of Boston, Montreal, or Detroit, Colorado. You name the rivalry. When those two teams get together, it's a big deal. So this time, SKA skated to a 6-3 victory in that game. So that particular game got a lot of press because it, quite frankly, is probably the two best teams in the even though both teams are in the Western Conference. Those two teams are probably the two best teams in the league.
Yeah, that's something.
Yep,
it really is.
And they also announced, the KHL, that their what they call, what we call our All-Star game or All-Star weekend, they call it the 2017 Week of Hockey Stars.
Yeah.
And that is going to be taking place in January. I don't have the dates in front of me, but right about the same time as the NHL All-Star weekends. And they are running a similar format to the NHL. They're breaking up the league into 4 smaller teams, and they're going to have a little mini tournament on that weekend. So, and they're going to call it, they're going to have, 4 teams of 11 players, 1 goalie, 9 skaters, plus one of the 4 best youngsters from the MHL Challenge Cup. The tournament comprises 2 semifinals, followed by a final with games played to a 4-on-4 format, switching to a 3-on-3 if the match progresses to overtime. So looks like they're following in the NHL's footsteps and running a similar format for their All-Star weekend. So that's it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I think the KHL is really making efforts to compete, for their players versus the NHL.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it before. The arena situation with the KHL, I think, will prevent them from being a true competitor to the NHL, because there's a number of arenas around Russia that seat only 5,000, 6,000,
right.
Those times, the very small arenas. So it'll be hard to, in a small arena like that, to have a big payroll. Whereas every NHL rink has at least 16,000 seats in it at this point. So looks like they're about to unveil it. Everybody's looking at a screen, and it says placeholder, Vegas Hockey. I don't know what's going on. I don't have the sound on. All right, well, let's move on. All right, let's move on to the picks of the week. And you've got an interesting one.
I have an interesting one, and I want to do a quick follow-up when I finish with that.
All right.
Follow up on a previous story from a previous podcast. But my pick of the week is Mr. Matt Calvert of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if you watch that game Friday night when they played the New York Rangers, then you saw something that was truly amazing. Matt Calvert of the Columbus Blue Jackets was hit by a slap shot in the middle of his forehead by Rangers defenseman Nick Holden midway through the second period during that game. The subsequent wound on his forehead required 36 stitches to close it. And not only did he not end his night and receive the 36 stitches, he also cleared the concussion protocol that the NHL has started, came back out on the ice in the third period and scored the game-winning goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it was a deafening roar when he did so. So I don't normally do this, especially when it happened against us. But I'm going to do it because I was sitting there actually in awe. The guy had bandages all over his head, and here he is scoring a game-winning goal. So kudos to him and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And a real quick follow-up, Wayne, before I want to listen to your pick of the week. This one is in regards to Dena Lang. She did win the let me get this right now. She won the Dana Reeve Hope Award, which she won last week. Gary Bettman was actually there along with Cam Neely from the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
To be on hand when she won that award. And the award is given by the Dana Reeve, the Christopher Reeves, you'll remember the actor.
Right.
Christopher Reeve and Dana Reeve Foundation, which seeks to get cures, cure and or cures to people with spinal cord injuries and to provide them with a better life than what they have currently. So this was a big thing for her. And real quick, the quote, Will Reeve, who is Christopher Reeve's son, said tonight's final award recipient is very brave. She is courageous. She's funny and smart and warm and generous and happy. And she is astounding. Her name is Dena Lang. And I can tell you, I listened to her speech, rather touching. If you have a second, go on NHL.com and read up on her. Our continued prayers with her and her family for her inspiration.
Yeah, and those who don't know the story, it's known quite well among the hockey community. She was playing for the Boston Pride in the National Women's Hockey League at Gillette Stadium the weekend of the Winter Classic last year, and she suffered a spinal cord injury by crashing into the boards, and essentially become, put her in a wheelchair essentially since then. And she's been working real hard to come back from that, and she's remains hopeful that they can find a cure for paralysis, and hopefully she can get back on her feet. She says she's going to fight very hard to make that happen. So unfortunate accident, occasionally happens. Fortunately, it doesn't happen as often as it used to, but it still does happen. And we're all hoping that she does eventually make a full recovery.
One day.
But it is a very inspiring story to see the way she's handled it. And very deserving of that award for sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to my pick of the week. It's just kind of a little funny one. The article starts off saying, "What sorcery is this?" Or maybe it's camera tricks. And either way, the San Jose Sharks have won the Mannequin Challenge on Friday. So San Jose is claiming they've won the Mannequin Challenge is where, people, it's kind of been this craze all over the country as people do the Mannequin Challenge, where they take a bunch of people in a room and everybody freezes, and then one person with the camera kind of walks around and looks like everybody's a mannequin, completely still, right? So the San Jose Sharks did one earlier this week, saying, and they're claiming that the San Jose Sharks have won the Mannequin Challenge on Friday, posting a video of numerous bobbleheads remaining perfectly still, and I still don't know how they did it. The video included completely still bobbleheads of Sharks players, mascots, and even featured Dwight Schrute of The Office, a minion from Despicable Me, and a chia head. But it ends with a shot of Joe Pavelski's starting lineup action figures straight out of the 90s. So good creativity by the Sharks using a brand new trend to promote a throwback idea. So I thought that article was really funny.
It is. I'd love to see him panning around the room and see the two bobbleheads.
Yeah. Well, if you follow I put the link in the show notes. If you click on that link, it'll take you right to the article, and you'll be able to see the video. It's kind of funny to see the camera moving around these bobbleheads that are being completely still. Oh, they're doing a countdown. 3, 2, 1, and we are. Oh, interesting. It's a black. It looks like Black Knights, I think, or Golden Knights. They're showing the logo right now, and it's basically a black shield with a knight mask.
Yeah.
But black and gold are definitely the colors. More like Pittsburgh gold, not Boston Bruins gold. That.
Oh yeah.
That golden color.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the name yet though. There it is. Vegas Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights.
Yeah.
The Golden Knights it is.
Golden Knights is the official name of the Las Vegas NHL franchise.
Wow.
So there it is. So
Wayne, you were right. You picked the Golden Knights.
Did I pick it?
Correct. Because I picked the Desert Knights.
Yep.
So again.
So I don't see any red though. We're talking about red. The logo. Well, there's a secondary logo behind the primary logo. The primary logo is just big and it's flipping on the screen. But they've got a background. Looks like a secondary logo of two swords crossed on top of a star, and inside the middle of that, it's red. So you see that red. Wow. So that would probably be a trim color, but. No jerseys though. I was disappointed. They didn't show any jerseys.
Wow.
But the Las Vegas or they're just saying Vegas Golden Knights is the name of the NHL team.
The Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah. So
I've got it written down.
So they're not even gonna call them Las Vegas Golden Knights. They're just saying the Vegas Golden Knights. So interesting.
That is.
Well, there we go. Breaking news here on the podcast. All right. Before we close out the show, we have a little bit of listener feedback. It's a 5-star review from iTunes by Mark Allred. I'm a new listener, and to be honest, I'm hooked after one episode. What attracted me to this hockey podcast is they talk about my beloved Boston Bruins, but also take the time to cover other news topics from around the NHL. Wayne and Steve are very knowledgeable and highly recommend you also jump on board this weekly show. Keep up the amazing work. From Mark Allred, who's the host of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. So, and I know you are a subscriber of his show. Mark and Rob do a fantastic show. Their show is all about the, well, as the name implies, the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. They are a show that covers the Boston Bruins specifically. And if you are a fan of the Bruins, you need to subscribe to Mark and Rob's. Rob Tomlin is the other co-host of that show. You need to subscribe to their show because they do a fantastic job covering the Boston Bruins. And they don't just cover the Bruins NHL team. They cover the Providence Bruins. They cover the Atlanta Gladiators, the ECHL, or what would be considered the AA team. They also keep an eye on all the prospects that are playing in various junior and college teams. I mean, these guys dig deep, get right down to it, and they, if you want to keep good tabs on the Boston Bruins, you've got to subscribe to their podcast because they cover the team way deeper than Steve or I could possibly do, just because we don't have time to go that deep into the Bruins. So I think our podcast and his podcast for a Bruins fan makes a great companion because with his podcast, you'll get the in-depth Boston Bruins coverage. With ours, you'll get a little bit of the Bruins, but we also cover the rest of the league as well. So I think the two podcasts actually go well together, if you ask me.
I agree with you 100%. It's one podcast I listen to every week, and it's part of my preparation for this show, Wayne. I mean, I've learned so much about the Bruins from listening to those two guys. It's very, very interesting each week, whatever they have on. I don't miss it. So if you're a Bruins fan, I highly recommend that's the podcast you listen to. It'll give you all the in-depth coverage you need.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and close out the show. Again, you can visit our website at www.hockeynuts.com. You can email the show. We're at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. Our voicemail box is 919-960-1718. You can tweet me. I'm at Wayne Halley 9. You can tweet Steve. He's SBall504man. And our Facebook page is at www.facebook.com/thehockeyknuts. And, of course, you can watch us live record the show on YouTube each week. And for those who follow me specifically on Facebook, my Facebook account is my personal account. I do stream the recording of the show on my Facebook account as well. I'd like to stream it on the Hockey Nuts Facebook page, but right now, the way the Facebook settings are set up, they don't allow Facebook pages to stream unless you're a verified account, and only celebrities essentially get that. So I to stream it to Facebook, I have to do it on my personal page. So and Facebook, my personal page, I pretty much just stick with, as far as friends list, I stick with people that I know personally. But you can follow me on there as well. So if you do a search for Wayne Halley, you should be able to find me. But anyway, so unless you got anything else, I think we're pretty much done for the week.
No, great talking to you, Wayne. I had a great show. I'm glad to hear about the Vegas franchise.
Yep.
Rather exciting while we were doing the podcast to have that revealed. And once again, we had a lot to talk about, and we got it all done. So,
sure.
Thank you.
All right, well, the next scheduled broadcast or podcast recording, we're going to record on Wednesday the 30th. And I haven't seen my work schedule for that night, so we'll go ahead and tentatively schedule at 6 p.m. on the 30th of November. That's a Wednesday night. So if you want to watch us live, mark your calendar for that, and you can watch us on the YouTube page. If not, just wait for the podcast to come out on your regular pod stream, and you'll catch it when we get it edited and uploaded from there. So, all right, well, we'll go ahead and end it here. And until next week, Steve, you have a good holiday.
Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Wayne.
Yeah, and you too, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's listening.